This is the voice of freedom. We are not one voice. We are many. We are your voice. But we can only be effective if you use your voice. Your voice. This is the voice of freedom. We will not hide from the truth. We will ask the hard questions until we are sure we have the truth. Welcome to the voice of freedom, where your voice will never be silenced.
G'day, welcome back to the show, and I've got to say, pretty exciting show it is today too. You've heard me talk about silver, you've heard me talk about gold, and you've heard me talk about other precious metals. You've probably come to understand that I know nothing at all about them. It's not terribly surprising then that I've relied on the advice of others. Some of those others have been Ainslie Bullion, and Ainslie Bullion have been the recipients of my 2 coins worth of buying so far. And Director of Ainslie Bullion, Paul, joins me today. Thank you, Paul, for coming in. Really appreciate it, because I know absolutely nothing about the metals market, so to speak. I've been helping via Cass Smith in Canberra. A lot of people are interested in setting up self-managed super funds, taking their money out of big super and trying to secure it, I guess, going forward. Gold and silver, along with other precious metals, a great way to do that. And Paul, you're going to try and help explain to me just why it's not a bad sort of an option. So thanks for coming in today.
And you're not alone, right? So
No. Well, first of all, tell us a bit about you. How long have you been in the bullion business?
Yep. So I have been invested in bullion since just before the GFC. Okay. Fortuitously.
Yeah.
But in terms of the business here, I've been here for a bit over a decade now. So
okay.
Yeah. So prior to that, property development for 20 years. So another good hard asset.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, in terms of a nice liquid asset, you can't get past gold and silver.
So being the director of a bullion house doesn't mean you're out digging up gold in Western Australia or trying to find new deposits of silver. No? Doesn't work like that.
We let others do that.
Very good. Yeah. Well, how does it work? Like from a business perspective, do you have organizations you work with that go and find new deposits that dig up, becomes your gold, if you like, at the end of the day, like any other gold company?
Yeah.
You smelt your own gold, pour your own ingots, and then trade them, or is that how it works?
So we have, again, everyone's experts at their own field, so that the miners do their mining thing, that the refiners do their part. So most of our product is either our own Ainslie branded product, which comes from a few different refiners, 2 in Australia and 1 in the US. And then we're also the primary distributor for Perth Mint as well. So we stock their full range of product.
Yeah.
And then you get various, world coins from US Mint, Canadian Mint, etc. So,
Okay. People are very interested to see what sort of money or what you can exchange your money for, I guess.
Yeah.
There are different qualities of gold and silver. I didn't know that. So maybe you can explain to people a little bit when, people are saying rush out buy silver, rush out buy gold. Do you have to be careful about what you're buying, how you buy it, where you buy it?
Yep. A lot to unpack in that. So let's talk about critically in Australia for it to be classified as bullion. Okay, it must be at least 395 gold. And 39 silver. So
what does that mean? 395?
So 99.95.
Oh, okay.
So and 99. So we often 4 nines is pretty much the benchmark for gold in Australia. Right. So you can go lower. I think 295. You can go lower, but no one's buying any less than 4 nines. So that's 99.99% pure gold. So that's fine gold. That's 24 karat gold. All the same thing. So it's pure, right?
Okay.
And you won't buy anything less than that, and you shouldn't buy anything less than that. So there are some older Perth Mint bars that we get in every now and then that might be 99.6 or that sort of thing.
Okay, yeah.
So and they're a bit of a collector's item as well. So, but anything in the modern era is definitely 4 nines for gold. In silver, you get a mix of anything between 3 nines and 4. So 4 is becoming more and more normal, but 3 is completely fine and makes no difference whatsoever to the buyback.
Yep.
So for it to be bullion, and I guess I might just hold up.
Let's have a look. First of all, let's have a little look at the selection you've brought into us here to have a glance at.
Yeah, sure.
And
this might be good to talk to in terms of different types of bullion as well. So
absolutely.
So bullion itself, right, is is exempt from GST in Australia.
Wow, okay.
Now, for that to be the case, because it is money, there's no GST on money, right? So for it to be classified as bullion, if we take maybe this fellow, or this one's easier in shot,
Yep.
It must have a recognised hallmark. So you've got the Ainslie Bullion hallmark there.
Sure.
It must have the weight, so that's 10 troy ounces there.
Yep.
And it must have the purity. So this bar is 3 9s. This bar is 395 plus. And this one here is 4 9s. So again, it really makes no difference in terms of the value of the metal, but again, there's just a move towards 4 9s for silver as well. So if it has those three things, then that is bullion as accepted by the Australian authorities. So it's then probably worth talking about the different types. Okay, so we've obviously got we've got bars and we've got coins. And then even to complicate that further, you have a cast bar, which is literally a hand poured bar.
Let me just flick up to the other camera and try and show folks that one.
A cast bar there. So hand poured, each one will be slightly unique. And that tends to be okay, let's step back a little bit further. When we're pricing bullion, it's generally tied to the spot price.
Right, yeah.
So now we hear the spot price of gold and silver on the news. That's ordinarily US dollar based. We then have to convert that to Australian dollars, but no one can buy bullion at spot. Okay, spot is this mythical intermediary exchange between big banks, etc.
Right.
So for this silver bar, for instance, for that to have gone from being priced at spot, it needs to be refined into that 3 or 4 9s. It needs to be then that bar needs to be produced, packaged, transported, insured, all of that, right?
Yep.
So what that does is add a premium above the spot price. That is then the end price that you pay. So now a big part of that is production cost.
Sure.
So to produce this bar is generally cheaper than to produce, say, this stacker bar, which is as opposed to cast, this is a machined bar.
Right, yeah.
It has special security features on the back, those swirls. It's got a stamp. They stack. They interlock beautifully.
Okay.
And they've got a serial number. So that all costs, right? So you're paying more per ounce for that bar. You then have minted bars. So a minted bar is again produced by extreme pressures. Say 3 ton of a stamp coming down on that silver bar. You can't see it maybe, but that's a wrapped, so that's shrink wrapped, so it won't tarnish. It's got special security features again. It's got a serial number, so you're paying a premium for all of that.
Sure.
Now, at the end of the day, all three are still 10 ounces of silver, and then we also have, and again, this is exactly the same. So this is 5 ounces of gold. And I'm just nominally going sort of halfway through the range at 5 ounces. So 5 ounces of gold, same deal. That's a cast bar.
Yeah.
That you can see. So I've just got a little lag with the camera, but you hopefully can see that.
Yeah, that's great.
Sorry, went
watch that one over there. And
sorry, guys, I've been looking at the wrong camera. Hopefully that all worked. But that's the 5 ounce cast gold bar.
That's the camera. Watch it on there when you hold it up.
No worries.
Sorry, beg your pardon.
And then we've got our Perth Mint cast bar, so exactly the same as the Ainslie cast bar, just different brand. And then you've got a coin. So coins take pretty to a new level. So this is a year of the ox coin. So again, 10 ounce, just like those 2 bars that I just held up. And obviously
these
are the last ones with the Queen's head on them.
So they will be the last ones with the Queen's head?
Not this particular, this is a 2021 coin, but the 22s are definitely.
Yep. Right.
So the coins are just they're in a perspex cover. There's just a little bit more cost, higher grade of minting, etc. So really, when it comes to bullion, there's a fairly crude rule of thumb that the bigger and the uglier the bar, the cheaper it is per ounce.
Right.
And I use ugly somewhat loosely because none of this is ugly stuff.
I was going to say you're being a bit harsh.
So let's look at that a little bit further. So we've got a 1 kilo. How do I get this?
There you go. might have to move this one back a bit and set it down.
So we've got a 1 kilo silver bar. That's a cast bar again, right? So when I held up that 10-ounce one, you can well imagine from a human effort point of view, there's not a big difference between the two in terms of what the effort is in to make that. But
Sure.
that's 10 ounces, that's 32.15. So when we say ounces in bullion, just to add another little nuance to this industry, we're talking troy ounces, okay? So not imperial. So 31.1 grams in an ounce, not the 28, that's the imperial.
Yes,
ounce.
right.
So again, so you're going to be paying less per ounce for that kilo bar than you will be for this 10 ounce.
Right. So there is an economy of scale here.
Economy of scale.
Yeah, okay.
But, and I mentioned it before, when you're comparing bullion to property, a lot of this is about liquidity too, right? So the beauty of bullion, as opposed to a house, is you can sell a little bit of it, right?
Yep.
If you're spending your money, you might be saying, well, I can get, more bang for my buck with this kilo, but you're going to be getting fewer things to walk out with than the smaller bars.
Yeah.
So, you've got the 1 ounce silver minted bar there, and that's as small as they come in silver.
Yep. Although I do have a 1 gram bar of silver. It's not a bar.
Well, that's a 1 gram gold.
Yeah. Oh, it's tiny.
But,
I don't
but
have
a 1 gram silver is,
Yeah, 1 gram. And I think it cost $5, the guy said, to buy.
Yep.
He bought it simply because of the novelty value, but it's a Swiss produced 1 gram of silver.
Wow.
You wouldn't go buying silver that way, I wouldn't think.
Well,
it's
and
a very expensive way of buying it.
Exactly to my point there. So because of that economy scale, when you get down to this 1 gram gold bar, right? So that's off the top of my head, that's $90, say.
Yeah.
For 1 gram. So this 1 kilo bar, it's probably easier. So that's 1,000 grams, and you're paying about 86,000 for it.
Wow.
So you're getting more bang for your buck with the bigger bars. But if you put all your money, if you had $86,000 and you buy the one thing, it kind of defeats the purpose.
Yes.
So what we often see is, and why the 1 ounce cast bar is by far the biggest seller. So that's 1 ounce, cast. So it's not packaged in the minted, etc. But it's still bullion. It's got all the necessary stamps on the back there.
Yeah.
That's by far and away the biggest seller, because per ounce, the difference between the 1 ounce and the 1 kilo is about $20.
Right.
Now, you respect that the price can move $20 in a night, right?
Yeah,
so
sure.
If you're making a lifetime choice in the context of something that could change that much overnight, you're buying a lifetime of flexibility, because it's not always about when you think you might want to sell. Sometimes you might have to sell, right? You don't want to sell $86,000 worth if you only need to sell 2 of these for $5,000.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's a bit of the I guess the thought process that people go through is just that liquidity at the other end.
Sure.
And look, and we're all, again, for context, yes, that minted bar costs more than that cast bar, but it's beautiful, right? So some people say, yeah, I don't care if it costs an extra $5. It's $5, and I get something that I can stare at and nicely packaged and sealed and whatnot. So there's no right or wrong answers in any of this. It comes down to a personal choice.
So does keeping it sealed, obviously it stops it from tarnishing.
Mm-hmm.
You've brought in a great selection. One piece of silver we've sort of kept behind the camera at the moment. So if you've had silver or gold, maybe it's been handed down to you, it's very old, it's got a bit tarnished, it's not looking good. Is the advice to polish it up before you bring it in?
Look, it's and I will say, I'm just doing this for convenience. Normally, if I'm handling, I'll demonstrate bad practice. If I'm handling, a silver coin that's not encased like that silver roo, right?
Yeah.
Or this is a US silver eagle, so that's the biggest selling coin in the world, silver coin.
Wow.
The silver eagle. So normally, I would and should wear a glove, right, to do that, because there are people that are paying pretty high premiums for these because that's what is the current situation.
Yeah.
And they want to keep it in pristine condition, right? So our requirement here with the staff is, that a glove is worn when we're handling those sorts of coins.
Sure.
But you mentioned, but at the end of the day, when we're buying back silver, we're buying back silver.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
So we don't really care. So that's I don't know if it's terribly clear on the camera or not, but that's a
well, if we
pretty
stand
tarnished sort of black.
if we stand a silver one up,
Well, if you put it beside a shiny
clean
brand new
one.
one. So you bring this into the store, sell it back to us, we'll pay you exactly the same.
Yeah.
Okay. Because we will, more often than not, melt them down and recast them anyway.
Yep.
And we're bullion dealers that are selling gold and silver. That's
That's
still
what you
silver.
do.
It's just black. And I remember, Carl, after the 2011 floods in Brisbane, we had a lot of silver come in that was pretty smelly and pretty muddy.
Oh, yeah.
Because people had it buried in their backyard and it literally got washed up, and with all the
wow.
stench at the time. So we had some pretty stinky, dirty bars come in, but they got the same price. So,
yeah, great.
And so it's just something to remember when you're buying. If you don't care about appearances, then you can just go for that cheapest bar.
If people are watching, like myself, are very new to all of this, you've highlighted the fact that the $86,000 kilo of gold looks wonderful, but isn't terribly functional if it comes down to needing it or having to cash in a bit of money, but not the whole 86 grand. For somebody like me who's just starting out, what's your advice if you've got, say, your super fund, let's say $200,000, and you're looking at going into a self-managed super fund? What sort of a spread of metals should you look at buying?
Look, it's ultimately, it's not a cop out. We're not allowed to give advice, but it's not a cop out because it is a personal choice. Okay, so there are some people that put a percentage of their wealth into bullion, and we always point out these things that we've discussed, and they say, no, don't care, I'm all in, and when I leave, I'll be all out. So I'll just save the money, I'll go the kilos, and we're done. Yeah. So, and that's fine. There's others going, no, look, I might actually be using this in my pension phase.
Yeah.
Okay. So and we see this every week. Pensioners come in and they'll sell a little bit of gold. They might do that every 2 weeks or whatever their spending habits are.
Yeah.
And that's their pension phase, right? So they just sell the little bit of gold as they go. Yeah. And that's the beauty of buying the smaller ones, that you can do that. Now, don't forget, you're not trapped with a kilo, right? You can come in and say, I only need $5,000. Yeah. You sell the whole kilo and then you can buy $45,000 of gold back, right?
Oh, right. Yeah.
So it's not the end of the world. It's just not the most efficient.
Yeah.
So then in terms of what you will be choosing, it often comes, the biggest dilemma for people is how much gold, how much silver.
Yes.
Okay. And sometimes people are guided by what the gold silver ratio is. So the ratio, how many ounces of silver to buy an ounce of gold, effectively, right? So if we look at, there's 2 lots of 10 ounce metal there. And you can look at that. I mean,
there's a
gold is incredibly dense, right? It's one of the densest metals. So you're getting, but the gold 10 ounce is around $26,000, and that silver 10 ounce is around 350. Yeah. Right. So at the moment, the ratio between those two is 82 to 1.
Wow.
Now, in 2011, when we had silver at $50. So for some people, if you believe in nothing else in this world other than math and the reversion of the mean, at 82 to 1, we're very high, right? So what's that saying? It's one of 2 things: either gold's overpriced or silver's underpriced. Yeah. There's not many people suggesting gold's overpriced at the moment with what's going on in the world. So for people, they say, I think silver's got more potential. Yep. So I'm going to put more there. But there's a lot more risk for silver, right? It's a volatile market compared to gold. Yeah. So balance, our trademark is balance your wealth in an unbalanced world. Yeah. Where you can balance within your precious metals play as well. Yeah, sure. So you can have a bit of gold, a bit of silver, a bit of platinum, and balance that out. So it's just something to consider. It really comes down to your risk appetite, where you think that those markets are. I can't even put a ratio to it in terms of, but it might be, might be overall sort of, sort of 40% silver, 60% gold is not uncommon.
Yep.
But silver comes with much higher spreads. So again, when you think about what I was talking about before with production costs, they're two, pretty much identical bars,
Yep.
right? But the man effort to make that and that is about the same, but that's $26,000 of value to carry that cost. This is, $300 odd bucks to carry the cost.
Yeah.
So you can well imagine the spreads above spot are much higher for silver than they are for gold. So for some people that are, quite sensitive to that cost of trade,
Yes.
they'll go gold.
Yeah.
So but people that are quite bullish about silver go, yeah, I'm paying more of a premium now, but that's going to dwarf by what it'll do performance-wise. So
I'm not asking you for advice or any insider information here, and if I'm asking a question you can't answer, just say so. There is a lot of talk in the world at the moment that the silver market has been suppressed for a very long time, and that something called the COMEX market is involved with all of that. For someone like me who doesn't understand stock markets and COMEX exchanges and all that, can you explain to me what the COMEX exchange is and why it's important to the price of silver?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's important because by volume it is large, right? The COMEX is just futures,
right?
So all we deal with here is physical bullion. So we're removing the counterparty risk that comes with futures, but what the futures markets allow are people to hedge, for people to leverage, so you can get far bigger trades compared to the underlying amount of physical metal than many of us should be comfortable with. But you also have miners who might want to hedge their production. So they're saying, I've done all this effort. I know what I'm making now. I'm just going to lock that in, right? So they'll actually short on the futures market what they're going to sell physically. So some of the talk around COMEX of being big bad banks just shorting the market to suppress the price. The reality is a lot of the big bad bank behavior is just acting for miners that are shorting. That said, and factual, because they've been convicted, right? There are a number of big banks that have been convicted in the last couple of years of spoofing the market, of playing the market. And silver is a relatively small market compared to gold. They've been doing it in both. Yeah. But silver is a smaller market, and that's why I talk about that volatility. Yeah. So absolutely, they have been spoofing it. There was evidence for some time with one in particular that appeared to have a massive paper short position and then a massive physical position. So if you just think, if you're hypothetically suppressing the price by shorting it with paper on leverage, but you've got a lovely big stash of your physical that you just keep accumulating at those low prices, and then one day you take your foot off the suppression one, then you're just sitting on a lovely big load of more valuable silver.
Absolutely.
So that that's one of the theories and seem to be playing out there for a while. But look, there's no doubt there's malfeasance at play because they've literally gone to jail. But people just need to balance that with understanding why some of these short positions are there.
Sure. I'm very intrigued in that large gold coin that you have. I don't know that we've seen it properly yet. Let's have a look at this.
That's another kilo version of gold. So again, we're getting back to comparing, so there's your bar. So that's pretty much what is the most expensive thing we sell.
Right.
And you're paying a premium for that coin over that bar because of what it takes to mint.
Oh yeah.
A kilo of gold. Package it, transport it, etc. So you're always paying a premium.
Absolutely.
But again, in the context of $86,000, and I apologise, I don't know off the top of my head what the premium is above, but it's hundreds of dollars when you're paying 86 grand. So some people go, yep, I don't care because
it just looks so good.
Yeah, and look, I might get a premium, right? In the future, where if something becomes rarer as well. So
this is the thing. Collectors' items, collectors' stuff. Is there a market for it? And do you do that sort of appraisal if somebody was to walk in with an old silver doubloon or something?
Yeah.
Can you do that sort of an appraisal?
No, and look, we don't pretend either. We're bullion dealers, so we're largely for investors. And when people come with something rare, we'd love to take it, but we'll usually just send them to a coin dealer and say, look, likely they'll pay you more than us, so we'd love it, but you're going to do better by going to a coin dealer. Occasionally they come back because the coin dealer didn't, and we just pay for the metal value. But and then there's some that are selling it on eBay and everything, but big, it's fine to sell it there, but just whenever we see fakes come in here, without exception, they've come from eBay.
Okay, fakes is a good thing to talk about. Is there a way to test that your silver isn't fake?
At home, it's a little hard. We've got the equipment here. If you've got some coins, there's a really simple ding test. You watch, I'll spill this now. So you probably won't pick that up. But if you do that with two coins, you can hear the ring. It's a sustained high pitch ring. That's a really easy thing. If you've got a bigger bar, put some ice on it. If the ice melts really quickly, it'll be silver.
Really?
So there's there's a magnet test that you run a magnet down, but you've got to have the gear, right?
Somebody said something about sliding a coin down the face of a bar or something. It slips really easy, or if it grabs, it's not silver. Or
I haven't actually heard that one.
Haven't heard that one?
So so definitely a magnet. Yeah, you'll get a different response, but yeah, if the coins are the easiest, just with a ding test.
And gold is simply biting it the old way,
yeah, absolutely.
Stick it in your mouth and bite it.
And look, and some of these fakes are getting more clever in terms of plating it with real gold. So our equipment looks through the plate. We don't get tricked by plating. Just a little heads up, when we do see fakes in gold, they're inevitably minted. So you're paying more for something that ironically is often more prone to fakes.
And they do that because you're less inclined to take it out and inspect it closely.
Yeah, it's cookie cutter like that. You can mass produce that. You're right. It sort of has this inherent authority and acceptance because it's got a serial number and that sort of thing. But look, it's very, very rare. And if we're seeing it, it's either in gold Krugerrands or minted bars, and we always pick it up because we always test. So it's just always buy off a reputable deal is the key takeaway.
I've been eyeing this coin off here for the whole time we've been talking. I can't identify the head. Oh, it's an Indian.
Yeah, it's an old gold. Not an old. That's a gold buffalo.
Okay.
So the biggest selling gold coin for us obviously is the Perth Mint kangaroo.
Sure.
And I was just and then the biggest selling silver coin is the Perth Mint silveroo.
Yeah.
So again, when we're talking about costs, so Perth Mint used to only do these kookaburras and koalas like I've got there. A few years ago now, they started to compete with the maples and the silver American silver eagles. There's the silveroo. So rather than plastic cases, higher grade minting, they do these that are a lower grade mint, still beautiful, but they come in a tube of 25, right?
Right.
And for some reason, I'm showing you the American Silver Eagle tube, but that's the Perth Mint tube. You've got a seal on the lid there, and then they come in.
Beautiful.
They come in boxes of 250 as well. So very, very economical way to buy 1 ounce of silver in coins, and if you prefer the bars, you've got the 1 ounce minted Ainslie bar that are almost the same price.
Yeah.
It's probably a good segue, Carl, just to warn people because you've mentioned super funds.
Sure.
The super fund rules in Australia have deemed in their wisdom all bullion coins, even though they're bullion coins, to be collectibles. So just like rare wine, art, or Ferraris, it has to be. They've got special rules so you don't enjoy it.
Yes.
And that is they must be independently stored, they must be insured, and they must be independently audited every year.
Right.
So mostly, people avoid coins in super funds just so they don't get captured by that, because if you buy the 1 ounce bar instead of the 1 ounce coin, you can store that at home.
Right.
And it really comes down to, and look, we're a good friend of Cass Smith. She's a very practical super fund manager. So, but they're all different.
Yeah.
So it's just, same set of rules, but they're all policed differently.
Yep, sure.
Our interpretation of those rules is quite clearly, if it's a bar, it can be stored at home, and you don't need to have that insurance. You don't need to have that independent audit.
Yeah.
So people tend to just purely go with bars when it comes to super funds, just to avoid that extra complication.
Extra issue. Yeah.
Yep. But look, that said, storage at home of any value is I guess subjecting your stuff to theft risk, but it's also subjecting you to personal risk if you were to try and defend it. So a lot of people will use high security vaults. So we're affiliated with Reserve Vault in Brisbane and Melbourne Vault in Melbourne,
right? And
we deliver there for free. So you're never walking around with it as well, and you can put it in your own safe with your own key. They're independent of any government, financial institution, etc. We're major shareholders of both, and so we're on your side.
Yeah,
I can put it that way. So that's a more secure way to store it. We have our own storage accounts as well, where people can store it with us. And then you've got access to an online portal, so at any time you can see what's there, statement of holdings, value, etc., etc.
Yep.
So that's very popular with super funds too, because it's an independent source of verification as well. So every 30 June we get a pile of super funds saying, can you please give us a statement? And so that's an independent person saying they do have this many ounces of gold and it's currently worth this much at 30 June.
Yep.
They give that to their super fund manager and it's all done. So that's an option as well.
All right.
But storage is a big piece of owning metals. And I guess going back to that 83-to-1 ratio at the moment, it's just acknowledged. So silver is bulkier to store. So both those vaults have really cost-effective ways.
Maybe we can just show that with both the 1 kilo silver and the 1 kilo gold coin.
Yep.
Side by side.
Yeah. So they're identical. Yeah, no, I'm just having a check. They're identical thickness. So it's a really good context. So let's go back here so you can see both. So 1 kilo, 2022 koala, and this is an older. 2022 gold kangaroo. So
and beside it here is the other way maybe.
So there we go. And then you got your little 1 ounce gold kangaroo. So there's 32.15 of those 1 ounces in this kilo of gold.
Wow.
So again, same thickness, and silver is just that much bulkier.
Yeah.
But that's physically because of density. But again, remember this one's sort of $87,000 and this one's about $1,200. For you to store $100,000 worth of this stuff, you're into close to 100 kilos of this.
Wow.
And this and a bit of change.
Yeah.
But again, most people don't care because as a percentage of the value of that for that storage, it's relatively low when you're seeing something that could outperform by a factor of 2 if that gold silver ratio reverted.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's sort of the math people are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Paul, I'll put the camera back up so we can see you again, or at least part of you. We'll try and get the camera straight. I just want to thank you for letting us in today, for being able to have a bit of a look here and get an understanding of the silver and gold market in particular. You also have platinum. There are other precious metals. Yeah.
There's so technically platinum and palladium.
Oh, yeah.
Palladium attracts GST in Australia. So we stopped doing palladium some years ago. There was next to no demand, albeit we got out just as it skyrocketed. But that was great timing. But platinum absolutely, and it's got a core following as well. I guess the platinum more so than silver as well. So when you talk about the difference between gold and silver, gold pretty much these days has a little bit of technical use, but it's dominated by store of value. So it's either jewelry, right, or as in its monetary form being coins and bars, right?
Yep.
Silver still wears two hats. Silver is still sort of half monetary metal and half industrial metal.
Mm.
So at the moment, I just saw, India imported 1,750 tonne of silver last month. And it's because they've got big solar programs and Diwali, and so they're consuming more and more silver in a dual manner, right? So half it's industrial for making solar panels and medical equipment and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And half is the monetary in terms of jewelry and coins and that sort of thing as well. So it's
so there's a lot of silver that goes into electric cars as well.
Silver's the most conductive metal there is. So it's so in electronics, in every phone's got silver in it.
Yeah.
A lot going into the electrification of cars. It's great in that same conductivity and reflectiveness. It's highly reflective metal is for solar panels. And then you've got platinum, which is probably even more so industrial than monetary. So it just is a gradual scale. So platinum, is heavily used in catalytic converters and that sort of thing for cars. So,
yeah, right.
So platinum is a different market again. So they kind of follow each other, but platinum probably is the outlier. Like gold and silver rhyme, right? But that gold silver ratio just shows that silver just has higher highs and lower lows, right? And it's coming off the lower low. So, and what we will ordinarily see is as gold starts to take off, silver that will then slingshot past it to have that higher high. So at 82 to 1, silver's way undervalued compared to gold.
Yeah.
They tend to happen in unison. So we still do have that trend of both following. Silver just whipsaws either side of gold. So if you can snag it at what looks to be a low, like it is now, then you can benefit from that whipsawing going past. And platinum is a different market again. It just has different drivers, and it's very constrained in terms of where it's produced. In highly geopolitically difficult areas. So there's some people very bullish on platinum. But as a percentage of what we sell in the business, it's relatively minor.
Beautiful. Paul, thanks for letting us in behind the scenes, I suppose, at Ainslie Bullion and giving us a bit of a glance at what's available. Your team are available to help people with any questions and queries too. What's the best way for people to find you?
Yeah, so if you go to ainslieBullion.com.au, there's a host of, so we see three things with metals. There's ignorance, there's around education, and then there's two things, right? And then where do I put it?
Yeah.
Right. So we're big on education. We do an article every day. People can subscribe to that, get that email every day with a news piece of what's driving things. And look, and that's a lot of that's good education around the macroeconomic setup in the world today, because there's a lot of people sleepwalking at the moment, to be frank, because they just don't know what's coming. So we discuss at length every day what's going on in the world in that finance space, because we are in absolutely unprecedented times at the moment, and it's an overused word, especially over the last few years. But from a financial point of view, the world has never seen more debt, has now grappling with inflation coming, so interest rates on all that debt. You don't know where this ends, except history tells you it always ends badly. And what's the thing that keeps surviving? Gold and silver.
Absolutely.
So there's that. People can sign up to get that news, but there's a whole lot of brochures there about why you might want to buy gold and silver. There's an online chat, so if people have questions, we can respond. But also our phone numbers in Brisbane and Melbourne. There's plenty of people here that can help answer your questions and help you through the process.
And if a self-managed super fund is what you want to get into, want to get your super out of big super and start looking after it yourself, then Cass Smith is the lady to talk to. She's just been invaluable to so many people. I can tell you that on the road I get comments every day. I get emails every day, people asking for her contact details, and very happy to pass them along. She's a wonderful lady. So her new website is freedomffs.com.au, and you'll be able to get a hold of Cass through that, or Wholesale Financial Solutions, Holistic Financial Solutions, I beg your pardon, in Canberra. But she's stepped away from that business a bit now and is now focused on the non-profit to try and help people more. So if you're in that market, contact her. Or if you've got questions, then Paul and the team here at Ainslie Bullion in Brisbane, but you've also got the office in Melbourne as well. And of course, you can buy online, folks, and have it securely delivered.
And super funds, it's by far the biggest growth part of the business because of what I just said. Like, so
Yeah.
most of these managed funds are just absolutely deep into financial markets
Financial crisis.
that are all derivatives and you don't have the control. So there's people reading the tea leaves of seeing what's coming,
Yeah.
saying, I want to control what I'm going to rely on when I retire. So
Absolutely.
So super funds, having hard assets in your super funds, I don't think has ever been more important.
No, 100% right. Paul, thanks very much
My
for
pleasure.
coming in and, me coming in here
Yep.
and letting us have a little bit of a look behind the scenes. I'm blown away by your team. It looks fairly young out there. There are a whole bunch of little young gold merchants running around.
Yep.
So an exciting vibe to be around and plenty of people outside. Is there a quick, easy access, on the days where we expect the silver to go through the roof? You're going to have a lineup out your building, aren't you?
It's a very cyclical business. So you saw the size of the waiting room. So
Yes.
we cater for a lot of people. We get people through as quick as possible. Online, obviously, is always going to be the quickest. It's the most efficient for us. We even price it a little bit cheaper just for that, just to entice people to do that.
Yeah. You can't sell online though, can you?
Can't sell, but you can post in. So look, it's really, really easy to sell back.
Yeah, great.
That's a lot of that's another thing people miss is that they recognise we sell the stuff, but we're buying it back. And because of our size, we can buy back pretty much any amount.
Yeah.
So we're highly liquid. We have a huge range to buy, but we have a huge capacity to buy back.
Yeah.
And it's nice and quick.
Any shortages getting silver recently?
Yeah, silver's been a nightmare since mid-September. It's been Perth Mint. It coincided, unfortunately, with the rabbits coming out, so the new lunar year. So they were already stretched, and that just made it worse. So there was a big push into silver in September and early October, and we're working through that. So one thing, and we just put out an email to all customers yesterday saying that our rabbits got caught up in the derailment. Which is really unfortunate because it's delayed it again.
Sure.
But we point out on that we do not sell anything that we haven't already bought.
Yeah.
Right? So, and that's a really important place because it's not always the case. So we absolutely make sure that we've secured it. It's just the silver is, again, bulky to produce and to transport and everything. So there's been a lag on the smaller bars. On the big bars, we've kept up.
Yep.
But yeah, it's nothing to worry about if you're dealing with someone you can trust. We've been around nearly 50 years.
Yeah.
We've never let people down, and so it's all a matter of just keeping with people that you can trust.
That's the key, isn't it? You can always go and buy something off eBay, but when it turns up and it's not the real thing, you don't want to come in here and discover that. I guess.
Yeah.
So no, that'd be a bad day.
It's a hard message to deliver, I got to tell you.
Oh yeah, very. Paul, thank you very much. Really appreciate your time today and to roll out what must be a couple of $100,000 worth of precious metals here in front of us. I really appreciate it.
All right, just a pat down on the way out.
Yeah. Hands are open, no worries. My daughter hasn't moved. It's all good.
Thanks for the opportunity, mate.
No, thanks, Paul.
Cheers.
Really appreciate it. Hope we can do it again one day. And if you've got anything you'd like to let us know, if there is something coming down the pipe, then we'd love to help. So be able to show people what's coming. It's awesome.
Fantastic.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Carl.
Thanks, mate. And we'll have more on the next show here with the Voice of Freedom.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!